Hi everyone, I'm Tina, and I want to talk to you about my project, which is called Human Rights in the Smart City. What's the problem? The primary habitat of people, humans today, are cities. So currently already 54% of people live in cities. By 2030 that will be 60%, and 2050 will be 70%, with the biggest growth in the global south, actually. And so with that, cities have become important hubs for technological development. So smart cities are becoming more common. Cities use technological approaches to collect data, manage resources, run their daily business. If you think about parking, public transportation, healthcare, e-governance, and there's many other examples. At the same time, cities have also become more important in terms of human rights and human rights policy, both with regards to human rights violations, especially with economic, social, and cultural rights, inequality, and those kinds of things. They're more visible today than they ever were. And human rights have become an important portion of what cities do. So there's a rise of human rights cities and human rights implementation in cities, and that kind of recrafting what human rights mean with these new actors evolving. My project is right in that tension between technology and human rights. I'm really interested to find out, like, how do we design spaces, and this goes to my research question: how can technological solutions, information and communication technologies, and smart city initiatives become the avenues that produce urban spaces that reflect fundamental human rights values, such as non-discrimination, equality, and access for all. So traditionally, when we talk about smart city initiatives, it's very often driven by a number of large corporations like Google or Cisco or IBM and so on. And so the question is, well, where's the human element in this? What am I proposing to do about it? I've already started working on a theoretical framework based on the right to the city concept developed by Henri Lefebvre, a French philosopher and sociologist in the 1960s. This concept has become more important in the last 2 decades as these human rights cities are emerging. And so what I'm really interested in looking at and developing is a theoretical framework. How does this right to the smart city play out? What does this look like, and how do we think about this? I also I'm doing an empirical studies of cities around the world with a specific focus on marginalized communities, the integration of marginalized communities in this dialogue of the right to the smart city. Why should this intervention matter? Again, human agency. Like, cities in the end are made up of humans, so human agency is really important in the process. And so what I'm interested in developing is a multi-stakeholder urban design process where human agency is at the front and center. So civil society actors and citizens designing smart cities together with government and policymaker in the technology industry. I'm also interested in knowing, well, what's the role of academia in all of this. Finally, I would like to get best practice and policy recommendations for urban designers, city developers, and so on. Ultimately, I hope to combine this in a book. I also struggle with focus, okay? Both geographic. Should this be global? Should this be global north? Should this be just US, Canada? There's some really interesting initiatives in other parts of the world, even though the focus has traditionally been on the US and Canada, maybe Western Europe. The other portion I'm struggling with is which groups to look at. So my expertise is in rights of persons with disabilities. So I've worked a lot on smart city initiatives and inclusion and accessibility in terms of disability. But as I dug deeper, it's really interesting to see other groups that aren't white, straight males, middle class, middle-aged, able-bodied, women, LGBTQ, and poverty, persons dealing with poverty come to mind. I'm also interested in your suggestions for more literature, more connections, funding, anything that you can think of to help me, again, focus and develop this concept. Thank you.